Welcome back, Ram fam, to another episode of Ramzone. I am here today with the Rams football head coach, Jeff Girsch. Welcome. Good to have you.
Appreciate it.
So, before I get into the questions on the season and everything, I just wanted to do a little background on you, and we've been talking a little bit beforehand. But you've been a college football coach for 20 years or longer?
Longer.
Longer, okay.
Yeah, about almost 30 now.
Okay, nice.
30 years, and it started young.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you've been the head coach here since 2018, right?
End of the 2018 season. 2019 was the first full year as a head football coach here.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And in doing research and everything, you started in 2018 and you managed to bring the Rams into a championship contender in just 3 seasons. You're the most winningest coach in program history. And you've been named the Lone Star Conference Coach of the Year 3 times in your career, receiving the first time your first year as coach here at ASU. What do these accomplishments mean to you?
Well, it's awesome. It is. I will say I won the fastest to 50, but there is a few coaches that have their wins on that part of it. Some great ones in past, but it comes down to surrounding yourself with people that have the same goals and agenda that you have, and I've hired very well. That's one thing I've done at Angelo State. I've hired some great coaches along the way, and those coaches that went out and recruited really good football players and great student athletes and ambassadors of the game. So, very fortunate on that part of it. As long as I've been coaching, I've had a lot of relationships and made friends with coaches, from the past, and getting them to come to Angelo State, helping me, to coach here. That's something that I've been very blessed at.
Awesome. And you said originally, so you've kind of been around football your whole life. Your dad coached football as well as numerous other sports as well. How did that impact, I guess, watching him coach football, how did that impact your coaching style today?
Well, I just remember growing up, and I have a twin brother and a younger brother as well. And just growing up, I remember being dropped off after school at practices, where my dad was out coaching and doing things, and just being around the game. I just fell in love with it as an early age. I really did. When I went to college after high school and got done playing, I started playing in college. I really didn't think about going into coaching right away. I was actually a criminal justice major and did that for a little bit, but always had coaching in my background. Always thought maybe I'll get back to it. And after I graduated, it was just something I wanted to get back into, and I started coaching again right away out of it. So I really didn't have a whole lot of time to not coaching, I guess. So I did that right away. But just being around the game as much as I was, and around my dad coached at the same high school for 32 years. Being around him and another coach, Rick Hendricks, who was my head football coach in high school, and was a great mentor to me, and watching how they did things and how much fun they had doing it, that was something that just really encouraged me to do it. And then I played for some great coaches in college too that really, Mike Woodley is a guy who I played for, who just kind of exemplified how I wanted to coach. He was a player's coach, and people that he treated people right, did things the right way. So that's just the love of the game, just being around people that were great influences on me, definitely put me in this direction.
I love that. Just kind of building off of everybody that's poured into you. I love that. So going into this season a little bit, so far we've seen the team win every game this season. Y'all having a great start to the season, and also extending y'all's winning streak from last season as well. So what has gone into practices in preparation for the season just to keep this momentum going?
Yeah, it's consistency in what we do. We preach what we want, and we hold our guys to a standard of doing it. And whether that's in the classroom, in the community, on the field, those are the biggest things that we preach about. And if you're doing things the right way, in those 3 aspects, on the field, in the classroom, in the community, if you're doing those things right, usually you're going to have a pretty good football team, because you got guys that are committed and bought into what the structure is and what the standard is. And, the thing I'll add to it is our weight room. Coach Brady Connor has done an unbelievable job with our players in there, maintaining great discipline in what we do in there, as well as, the understanding of what's going to make them a good football player, the lifts that we're doing, the focus on the stretching and different things that he's brought to the table here at Angelo State in his short time here has paid huge dividends. So those things, finding the right guys to fit the program, finding the right coaches to coach the guys in the program, were things that were huge for us. But the guys understanding that this is the standard, this is the expectation. We took over in the 2019 full-time 2019, and the players that have played ahead of these guys, have kind of built that standard and built that foundation of what Angelo State football should be and what it is right now. And I'm just proud of the way our guys have responded to that. It's a lot of pressure. I mean, we've won a lot of football games here, but that's what you're here for, get your degree and win football games.
Yeah.
And our guys understand that and have attacked the process and kind of upheld the standard of what's expected.
Awesome. And how many freshmen, new recruits do you have this year?
Yeah, we brought in 32 freshmen in the class, and we brought in a few transfers that came in. More so in the summer, our transfers showed up, but it's I think total right around 38 to 40 new players into the program each year. So roughly 32 to 35 is what I want to bring in as true freshmen. And that's basically our whole signing class. And when we get to sign people in February, we're going to focus on the high school recruits. Those guys are the ones that are going to come in and build the program and continue to provide depth in the things that we're doing and basically turn those guys into the third and fourth year seniors that you're looking for. You want those junior seniors to win championships with. And then you go find the right fit in the transfer portal or junior college, which we've done a lot recently in our recruiting for transfers. A lot of it's been through through the junior college ranks. And we found some really good guys to fit into what we're doing. But, we're going to build probably 95% of what we're doing through the high school recruiting in the state of Texas and find the right guys and hopefully they can stay in our program several years and earn a degree or two and win some football games.
Awesome. And what do you look for when you're recruiting? Like when you're looking for those new guys to bring in, and obviously, like you said, you want to get them to the senior level of who's already kind of running the team and has built it so far. So what do you look for in those recruits to ensure that they become that later on?
Well, for us, the biggest thing, I tell my guys all the time when we hold camps and have people come in, or when I'm in recruiting and talking to guys in different high schools throughout the state, three things are going to tell us a lot about that individual. And the first thing is going to be obviously their film, right? Can they play football? Are they doing good things on that? The second thing is going to be a coach's recommendation, their head coach, position coach, coordinator. What kind of person is this young man? Is he a good leader? Is he a good teammate? Does he do the things you ask him to do? And then the third thing is his transcript. The transcript of academics are going to tell me a lot about an individual as well. It's going to paint a picture of what they are and what they've done. And the transcript doesn't always have to say A's across the board. What it has to say is effort. They've worked at it. I want to see tardies and misses and how many absence they have their senior year. That stuff makes a difference. If they're attending class and doing the things they need to be doing, those are big. So for us, it's a coach's recommendation. Their film has to be good. And then what's their transcript look like? And that paints a pretty good picture of the young man.
Awesome. Amazing. So again, obviously you're having a tremendous season so far. And what do you do to keep the team grounded and focused week to week without letting, the rankings or your success become a distraction and that's all you think about? Well, how do you keep them focused?
That's a really good question. We tell our kids all the time, like, it's a 1 week season. It really is. It doesn't matter what you did last week. It doesn't matter what you're going to do in 2 weeks. It matters what you're doing right now. And staying focused and getting better Monday through Friday, getting better as a football team, and then results will happen on Saturday. So our thing is go 1-0 each week. We focus on the now. We beat Western New Mexico this past weekend, but I promise you UTPB doesn't care about that. They care about our game coming up. So, and we have to focus on what we have in front of us and how we've done things and built it. I truly believe with this coaching staff, we challenge those guys daily to get better daily. It's not hey, we want to be, we're going to go 11-0, in the regular season. We're going to go 1-0 this week and keep our guys focused on the now instead of focused on the end result. The end result will take care of itself if you stay locked in throughout the week and do what you need to be doing to go 1-0 each week. So that's the biggest thing, keeping them focused on the now and living up to the standard that we talk about and what we want them to do in the classroom and making sure that what they're doing in the weight room is right and all those types of things too. So that's the biggest challenge because they are 18 to 23 kids, and those guys sometimes have the picture or the vision set on other pictures down the road. So the biggest thing is challenging them and having the staff bought into to that process, and I think we have that here at Angelo State.
Of course, that's awesome. I love that you keep it focused to just, like you said, week by week, and that way you're not getting tunnel vision to the end of the season and making sure that you're getting, win after win after win. You're focusing on just whatever week's ahead of you. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. When you took over in 2018 and again transformed it into a national contender, what was the biggest, cultural or structural changes you made early on that laid the foundation today?
I think it was just the getting the right fit of student athlete in here. I think at times in the past we were focused on the Saturdays and not the Monday through Fridays, meaning like, maybe you recruited a kid because they were a really good football player but weren't serious about the academics. So I think the biggest thing we did is we went and kind of changed that recruiting process a little bit and found guys that were serious about it academically, guys that were serious about getting the degrees, and obviously being good football players too, but guys that were going to, for the most part, be a well-rounded individual and continue to be willing to work towards becoming a well-rounded individual. When you get an 18-year-old to make a commitment to Angelo State or any program, they have good and bad, and they have to continue to work and get better at. But, we look for that finished product at the end, right? So guys that are willing to work at it and buy into how we're trying to get things done and accomplished. We take it serious as coaches at Angelo State. We're kind of getting the baton passed to us by their parents, right? These student athletes that are coming in here, they raised them to this point, and it's our turn to, we're going to be spending a lot of time with them, and it's a lot of responsibility as a staff to mentor and guide these players, and that's something that we take serious. So, I think the biggest thing are finding the right fits for us, that allowed us to, continue to grow. I will tell you that first year in 19, I did have a lot of returners. I had a lot of starters returning, really good football players that have bought into the program. Some guys that were true foundation builders of this program came out of that 19 and 20 season, and even into 21, because that 20 was a COVID year. Even in that 21 group, those guys that were in those classes were special, and they built this into what it is. And we've been special in 21 and 22 and 23, and obviously in 24. But like the end of the day, it came from that group, I think, and expectation, a standard of what we're trying to accomplish, and then finding the right fit.
I love that. And I love you touched on a little bit of being, like not just like coaches to the whole team, but mentors to, individuals.
Yeah.
Where do you find that balance of like mentoring and coaching and an individual that helps them grow as a player, but also helps the team go where they need to go?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. I really do. I think that if you are helping and showing them that you're not just here about football, you're here to help them out in the academic side of things, whether they're having issues, whether it's family issues, whether it's issues in the community, whatever it is, right? That stress out 18 to 23-year-old kids. A lot of times, making sure they understand you're here for the whole package. You're here to help them out in whatever they need to do. I think that builds some trust in that part of it, and they start understanding, kind of our concepts of what we're trying to get accomplished with them, and why we do things a certain way. And they may not always agree with it, but they respect it, and they kind of buy into what we're doing. So I think by showing them the trust and love that we have for them, they in return buy in a little bit quicker to what we're trying to get accomplished, and that can equate to a lot of wins.
I love that. Showing them it's not just, getting the win, but it's also building an actual team. I love that. Going back to this past Saturday's game, again, obviously y'all won that. What were some takeaways that you took from that?
Well, I mean, we saw some adversity a little bit, and that was something that, we had seen quite a bit of already this year, but saw some adversity. Our guys kind of fought through it. We faced a really good football team, especially on offense in Western New Mexico. They were leading the country in passing yards and touchdowns and all that. So they, we knew that'd be a challenge a little bit defensively for us. And, we didn't play our best first half on defense, but we played really well on offense all the way through, whether it's first or second half, we were rolling on offense. So it was just a matter of time for our defensive guys to see that adversity, deal with it a little bit. So I was very proud of that. It was fun to watch our offense go too. I mean, we've battled the injury bug a little bit this year and stuff, but it doesn't matter who's in there for us on offense, whether it's in the O-line, the quarterback position, running back, receivers, those guys just continue to make plays, and they've all prepared in practice as the starter, so they all prepare and understand that, they're going to get their opportunities, and when it comes to them to go ahead and step and do big things. And we've done that offensively. So continuing to see that is something that, we hope to continue to grow with and get better and better throughout the year. It's early, we're 4-0. We feel great about it. You mentioned earlier the rankings, and the rankings are really cool for a lot of things, but they don't mean a whole lot till the end, right? It's great and to be highly ranked because you're getting some publicity. It helps in recruiting. There's a bunch of great things about that. But at the end of the day, being ranked where we're at now, or being ranked that high at the end of the season, I'd pick the end of the season all day. So it's just a matter of continuing to improve as a football team and stay level-headed and stay focused on what we're doing. And I think our guys, we got a pretty good group that'll do that.
Awesome. Amazing. You've coached many many all-conference players and a few All-Americans. What's your process in, again, identifying those and helping those players reach their potential? Like what?
Yeah.
As the years go on, like even not just recruiting them, but making sure that, when they're here all 4 years.
Yeah, and that's another really good question, because it makes you think about it, the process. And it's probably built on like the kids that we had earlier that were all conference, All-American type players. We use them in recruiting. Like, man, this kid reminds me of him. The size, the length, the talent level, the speed. We look and kind of relate that in recruiting a little bit to people that we're looking at now. But at the end of the day, you never know what the finished product's going to look like from what you recruit, especially if you're recruiting high school kids. You don't know what it's going to look like. But, you got a pretty good understanding if you've done it long enough to say, hey, this kid has potential, right? And I'm talking strictly the athletic side of things right now. He has potential to put weight on, size on. You don't really put the height on too much, those type of things. But, you look at that and kind of compare to people that have been successful at Angelo State past, who you have coached, and you hope that they can match up and be, somewhat on the same level, those type of players. That's something that's big. But, we are definitely a development program, meaning we recruit high school and coach them over 3, 4, and 5 years. And if you do that and you stay within the coaching tree of what we've done and understanding of how we develop players, they turn into pretty good players, and we've been fortunate in Angelo State. I haven't had to hire too many coaches outside of that original staff. There's some guys that have come and gone and they were special coaches for us for a long time, but the coaches that we do hire, that I bring on if somebody leaves, are people that I trust, people that I talk to that, have done great things in other places they've been at, or I've already had relationships with these people and knew them. So just hiring the right people, but finding, having those All-American type players, always relate, this kid looks like him or reminds me of him, how he plays the game. You do that, you can win some games there too.
Love that. And you keep going back to, your team and all the other coaches and everything. Why is that important as to why to have such a tight-knit staff and a coaching group?
Well, I think it's important if you can have some continuity within your staff and the players are getting taught the same thing over and over and over again. There's always going to be switches and things you tweak and do a little bit better here on offense or here on defense or on special teams, but having the same people preach it over and over, I think is important. You look at programs that win a lot of football games, and usually those staffs have been there for a while, and it's harder in Division II a little bit to keep people because everybody has that ambition to move into the Division I levels and things. But we've done a really good job here, and the administration has done a good job here of making it hard for coaches to move on that part. And I'm blessed on that part of it. The university does a good job of doing that. So, but it is, just the continuity of having the same coaches and the same message being told over and over by the same people, I think benefits us, to continue to win football games because they're hearing the same thing.
Awesome. And how do you keep the morale in the staff? How do you keep that up to make sure that they're, if the staff isn't strong and the team isn't strong, how do you keep that going?
I think biggest thing is as a head coach, I let my coaches coach. I want them to go out and do that. I was a defensive coordinator here for 6 years before, and since I became head football coach, I haven't called one call on defense. I let our defensive coordinator do that because that's what I wanted. And same thing with our offensive coordinator, Coach Kilmer. He's been with me since the day one that I've been a head football coach here. And he is, again, I have not called one offensive team that far. Kevin does that. And, Coach Johnson, Jason Johnson, our receivers coach, has been with me since day one. Just some guys, Tyler O'Brien on defense. I could go on, and the guys that have been here for a long time with me. So having that trust and having that them understand that I want them to do that. It's part of my job as head coach is to continue to develop younger coaches, and they're all younger than me out of it, but developing those guys and giving them opportunities to be great, and they ran with that opportunity.
Amazing. What do you hope that all the players that you coach and everything, what do you hope that they take with them when they leave?
Another great question. This stuff we talk about in recruiting with them all the time. I want them to win championships in football, right? I want them to, have a bunch of championship rings and, compete for a national championship. That's what we want on the football side of things. Let's go win a national championship. It can be done at Angelo State. And so those things from that side of it. But more importantly, I want them to walk out of here a better person, more mature than what they've been. I want them to go back in their communities when they're done to be better husbands, be better dads, be better members of their community, be a great employee at a place you work at, and eventually go over and take over a company and be successful. And I want those guys to have the quality of life that they want because of what they did at Angelo State, and to earn those degrees. And we're probably graduating 60% of our kids right now with multiple degrees. So these guys coming in getting undergrad and master's programs and getting those degrees are huge. And we are graduating 100% of our kids that play all 4 years. So that's something that's important. But let's win championships. Let's do that. But at the end of the day, let's be better people when we leave here. And like I said, going back to their communities and giving back, hopefully from what they learned here at Angelo State.
Amazing. Obviously, y'all put in a lot of work as coaches for the team itself. What do y'all encourage anything outside of practice to keep that team morale? Obviously, there's a lot of work that they're around each other, every day and practice and everything. But how do you encourage them to keep that team morale up, even off the field and off the, out of practice and everything?
Sure, we do some team activities. We're involved in community service throughout the year as well. So I think finding ways to get these guys together outside of football is important. I think our staff does a good job. We're not disciplinarians in the sense of like every single day is just a grind to come to practice. It's important and we're focused and locked in. But as coaches, we want to have a good time too. I don't want to come to work every day going, man, I got to coach football today.
Yeah.
I want to be excited about that. And I want our players to be excited about coming to practice. So, making it fun for them. Letting them see the success, and they see it. They experience the wins. They experience the gains in the weight room and the stuff that we see, and we celebrate with them. Having those guys with great energy to come in and see positive things that happen throughout the program. That really helps keeping them focused and keep them on track. Because at the end of the day, the feeling of winning and accomplishing things are huge. And these guys are pretty bought into what the standard is and what the expectation is. So, just trying to keep that morale up a little bit by the production they see.
Amazing. Awesome. Obviously, this next week's a bye week, so y'all kind of got a little break a little bit. Yeah. But what does, a normal week-to-week practice look like to gear up for the next game? Yeah,
so game on Saturdays. We're off on Sunday. We don't do anything with them on Sunday. Monday, we bring them on for film of Saturday's game, and then we have 1 hour practice from 4 to 5 on Monday. That's it. We get them out. We as the staff are working. We work on Sunday, too, as a staff all day. But then Monday is a lot of film with the staff and getting prepared for that next week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're on the field with us from about 3:15 to about 5:30 on those days. Friday's usually a walkthrough day. And then Saturday is the game day again. So it's just kind of a routine of going that over and over again. They have weights that they do as well, their morning weight room and that kind of stuff. Some of them 3 days a week, some of them 2 days a week. And so it's a busy schedule because they're also going to class full time, right? And doing the things they need to do. There's some guys that have jobs, So, understanding, getting into that routine and living it is the biggest thing. But, there's a lot of hours that go into it. And our players, again, I think that's why they're so attractive at the end. When they get degrees, these guys have been through a lot, and they've understand time management skills, understand being a good teammate and leadership and all that kind of thing. So I think it benefits them, but it's a lot of work, and I commend them for how they handle it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
After this week, and you kind of catch your breath a little bit, what do you hope for into the next game?
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. We play UTPB at home here in not this weekend, the following weekend, and I think October 4th, I believe that is. So it's going to be a great atmosphere, and I anticipate them winning this week. They have a game, and they'll be 4-0. We'll be 4-0, and they're a top 10 team right now. We're sitting at number 5 or 6 in the country, so it's going to be a great atmosphere and a great games. But my biggest hope is that we continue to get better this week, and as a football team, and have a great opportunity to go play here at home and in front of our fans, another really good football program, and see things. And those are the games I tell our players all the time. Those are the ones you're going to remember. Playing great football teams for things that are very important. Ultimately, we want to win a Lone Star Conference championship. Well, to do that, you got to beat UTPB in a couple of weeks. But how we prepare and do that. But at the end of the day, it won't stop after that. If we're fortunate enough to beat UTPB in a couple of weeks, we got Kingsville after that, and we got Central Washington after that. Some really good football teams. So, we'll have 7 straight weeks of games after this bye week, and hopefully our guys can stay focused and locked in during those weeks, and continue to move on and see how it goes.
Awesome. As we're winding down, what are your just thoughts continuing on into the season? Like, what are you hoping for? What do you want to work on? What is your mindset going into the rest of this season?
Well, I hope that safety and health is first for our players, keeping them safe. It is a dangerous game at times, so keeping them safe and doing that. But ultimately, I want them to continue to learn, and to understand the importance of playing football at Angelo State, and quite frankly, the pressure that is put on them because of what has happened here in the past. We've won a lot of games, but embrace that. Embrace the standard of what we expect, and have them go out and just compete and have fun with their teammates, have fun with their coaches. It's not going to be smooth riding all the way through, right? You're going to have adversity, but how you deal with it and how you respond to things is going to be something special. But this group has a chance to be special. It really does, and has a chance to win a lot of football games and compete at the highest level. So, my goal is that they continue to do what they're doing, stay focused, and enjoy the process and the ride along the way, and have some fun doing it.
Awesome. And my final question for you is, why football? Why all these years? Like, what does football mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. It's the ultimate team sport. It really is. There's not very many sports out there that has 11 on the field at a time, where if one person's not doing their job, you're not going to be successful. So a lot of it has to do with that. It's the ultimate team sport. I think it teaches so many life lessons. It really does. How to be a good teammate, supporting each other, having each other's back, all those types of things that we talk about. The leadership parts of things, right? Teaching these young men to turn around and be great leaders to their teammates. That's going to help them down the road and what they're doing. So it's just to me, it's the most exciting game there is as well. I mean, it's just always a lot going on in it, and it's been a blessing. This game has given me so much through my livelihood and what I do for a living. I mean, it's allowed me to be a coach and do things that I love to do. So that's it, man. That's why it's football, but it's a special game.
Awesome. I love that. And you don't see any in the future.
Nope. I want to stay doing it as long as they'll let me.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming by and talking to us. And I hope you'll have continue having an amazing season.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode of Ramzone. Thank you.